Yeah, I mean, yeah, great. It was fantastic work, really, wasn't
Yeah, I don't, and there was already other ones in the game. There's one where Liam Farrell came in for one. There was a couple where Hastings got like put himself right in the firing line to take a couple of tough hits. Um, Wigan's goal line defence in that second half was something else. I think we would be remiss not to go back to what Mike Dodd was talking about, which was obviously the Sam Powell try, and it's another example in the case against the live call. I feel.
it? Yeah, it was. Yeah, for me, it was an obvious not a try, but it's the way the system is, the way the rules are. Do you know what? If it ends up giving more tries overall, I kind of don't mind it.
Well, if there was no cameras there, which let's face it, Wigan versus Wakefield, normally there would be no cameras there. It would have been given as a try because the referees on the field thought it was a try. So that.
Well, no, Mark. We would have had the expert in-goal officials who would have been stood right on top of it and would have always done something.
Yeah,
because in-goal officials are valuable.
Yeah, maybe so. Actually, what went against it in this situation, and certainly, it looked like a drop, but we only had one camera angle that seemed to actually capture it properly, because any other camera angle you couldn't see much, and there was one camera angle where it clearly looked to come away from his arm, but you couldn't for certain say his hand wasn't on the ball still, or his fingers weren't in contact somewhere with the ball. You couldn't 100% say that it wasn't, and it was a real shame that there was no other camera angles to kind of run alongside it to say, well, you can see a little gap of his hand away from the ball as well there, so clearly he has lost control, sort of thing. Or lost contact, because I don't think anyone could say he didn't lost control. But
I mean, you could see the way the lettering of of where it said Steedham was coming down. You could use that almost as a reference point that there was no way that was under control. It was slipping out.
Yeah, and it, like I say, it's another one in the sort of case against the live call. Really.
in not long before times, it would have been when they set the benefit of the doubt thing up on the screen, wouldn't it?
No, this wouldn't have even got benefit of the doubt. I think it would have been given no try in the benefit of the doubt era, because you could see, like you say, you could see the ball look to separate away from his arm, but with the live call, you couldn't be certain that he didn't maintain some sort of contact with just that one camera angle we had, which was, not ideal. But what I would say is, there was an absolutely egregious ball steal by Tony Gigo on Oliver Gildart that came just after a very strange call where Bill Tupou had clearly lost the ball in another really good defensive effort where Tom Johnson had tapped the ball back to him, Zach Hardacre stopped him scoring, but then the knock-on was given against Jake Bibby, who was only had the possibility of knocking on because Bill Tupou dropped the ball first. So there was a couple of things there that, these things, they say they even themselves out. I do think the first try that Wigan had ruled out for a forward pass was a forward pass from Farrell to Burgess, so I don't think there was an evening out like some of the commentators suggested. But really, what won it was Wigan's goal line defence.
Yeah, I mean, exactly, especially after that initial blip where the rust was showing. As soon as it clicked into gear, there you were.
Yep. Right, okay, let's wrap up the chat then on this week's games. Stat line of the week. Liam Farrell, I'm not going anywhere else other than 1 try assist, 42 tackles, 7 tackle busts, 228 metres, 2 clean breaks. He did everything you'd want him to.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm not gonna argue against that. Player of the week, who have you gone for
there? This was a bit harder this week than some of the other weeks. I think in the end I'd go with Jake Wardle. If I'm thinking of someone who had a performance this week that I thought was amazing, I think he was and totally got the better of his opposite number consistently throughout the game and in both sides of the game as well. I'd say Jake Wardle.
Now I'm been blown by the interview, but I'm going to say Mamo just for the the all-round contribution on the pitch and on the sideline. I think that just tips it for me.
And does his interview make the highlight of the week for you then?
Oh, how could it not? I mean, yeah, exactly. That again, though, it's what we've talked about having little marketable moments that can be shared on social media. I've seen that pop up about 20 times over the weekend, and it all have reached beyond just the rugby league circle, because it's a player actually talking rather than all credit to your boys, we did well, ran hard, the coach will have us working hard for next week, etc.
Yeah.
That every other sports interview ever has for the last... Apart from Darryl Powell. Has been, yeah.
I'm gonna say something Mamo was involved in, that try that with the Austin pass over his shoulder and then the offload as well. I think that was in the conversation for my highlight of the week. That kind of tied with Jake Bibby's tackle.
Okie doke. So looking at the standings, with St Helens getting the week off, Warrington and Wigan took their chance to leap over the reigning champions, moving to 75%, with Saints on 72.7%. Leeds maintaining fourth spot, improving to a 70% win success. Catalan are in fifth, lagging a little on 55.6%, with the Giants improving to sixth on 50%. Castle Hull FC barely still in the playoff race with 5 wins out of 12 games. Salford are on 30% and focused on the Cup now. And bringing up the rear, Hull KR and Wakefield are the bottom two on an 18.2% success rate at this stage.
In terms of predictions, me and Alan both went 3 out of 5 last week. We got different games wrong, but ended up with the same outcome. In terms of the Super Brew, Tim, you lead, although on one thing it says I'm at first, but then when I go into the leaderboard, you're first, so I don't know what's going on. I'm second, Sarah's third, and Alan is fourth. In the main Super Brew, Steve Pye's back on top. Well done, Steve. And Martin Simpson wears the yellow cap this week, so another small win for Toronto. The 4-week extension and the yellow cap.
Yeah, there we go. Don't forget, if you want...
Fantasy League.
Oh, I'd forgotten this. Sorry.
We got them in the end. Alan Bagley is top, of course. Well done, Alan.
Really?
The second place, Liam Reddington, of course, has the best weekly score. 749 this week. Those two just know that game inside out. They've got cheat codes or something, those two. 749 from 5 games where the team that's top of the table didn't even play. Amazing.
Brilliant. Anyway, if you want to get your fan views in next week, if you think that we've said something wrong or you think that you want to tell us what to say, then you can just go to the Google form, which you can find on the episode blog post or many other places, and get your results in for next week.
Yeah, good stuff. We'll now move on to other results where there'll be NRL and an international match to talk about.
Ooh.
Round 20 of the NRL then kicks off other results. It was the last round of the regular season, and it started in hilarious style as the Brisbane Broncos gave up a early lead in this one to go down 32 points to 16 at home to the North Queensland Cowboys. Herbie Farnworth, though, did do us proud with 159 metres in the losing Broncos effort. It seems like it's been that way all year.
Yeah, we had some fan views on this one, starting off with Carsten, who says... Spoon. Yes. This season was an absolute nightmare for my club, but the mighty Cowboys provided me with much satisfaction in the final round, securing the wooden spoon for the Donkeys, sending out Fluffy as a loser, and the great Gavin Cooper as a winner. The world's best winger Kyle Felt, and it's not Ryan Hall Doctor, with a hat-trick, did it to them again after 2015. What a day. And David Hunter said the whole of the NRL Twitter rejoices, thought the Broncos would get that last win to climb off the bottom, but the 2020 Broncos are just not good enough. Tamalolo was great for the Cowboys. Funny just how it happened in Super League last year. Everyone in the last round was more concerned with who finishes bottom than the games related to this. There's 2 things to call out on this, not necessarily related to the games itself. Number 1, the sight the next morning of the training field littered in spoons.
It was my favourite tweet I saw this week.
That was just immense. I mean, it's just such an immense thing. It's almost an argument in and of itself for getting rid of relegation. just for that to happen.
I would say no one would care as much if it wasn't someone else, with the stature of the Broncos to finish bottom, especially after not getting rid of, but swapping the coaches and that sort of stuff. And
well, it's interesting because Gentle Peter is off to be an assistant at St George next year, so he has ruled himself out of the head coach job there by securing a berth at St George, who he played for, of course.
Yeah.
When he wasn't playing for the Mansfield Marksmen, amongst others. And the other bit of utter bonkersness associated with this game was Darius Boyd doing a gender reveal, which I can't stand at the best of times. But as his last
Boyd or gender reveals,
both. I mean, I've never liked either of them since the first time I encountered them. They're probably quite similar in that regard. But yeah, kicking a ball that exploded into being pink as his last act in a Broncos shirt, and all his teammates just looking at him like, what the actual fuck are you doing?
I had no idea that even happened, but that is, I mean, at the end of this season to then make... I know he's been a great player. He's never lost a game for Australia, which is, not that remarkable given that Australia have been so dominant all these years, but at the same time, pretty good record. He's won all these Origins, he's scored all these international tries. He's had a very good career. But fucking hell, mate, read the room.
Yeah. I mean, it was just the whole thing of it was just spectacular in how ridiculous it was. Anyway, moving on to other results.
Yeah, so Kings of Queensland, the Titans won 36-6 over the Knights. The Rabbitohs absolutely demolished the Roosters in one of the most remarkable results you'll ever see. 60-8. Burgess played his part of 137 metres.
Yeah, Mark Butler said, what a performance by the Roosters for the first 10 minutes. From that point on, Souths gave a good example as you could hope to see of putting the pressure on and keeping it on. The Roosters barely touched the ball after the opening burst. Johnston's 5 tries, example of what can happen if you actually pick a winger. Commentators enraptured by the display and more fans to be allowed back in. Sigh. Yeah.
In the Panthers closed out the regular season in style with a 42-0 win over the Bulldogs, but Luke Thompson did do okay with 173 metres from him for the Bulldogs. It was the Sharks 28, the Raiders reserves 38. Ryan Sutton did play in this game out of all of our Raiders stars, and sadly he picked up an injury, a knee injury that's going to rule him out of the finals. So the second year in a row that he won't be playing in the big games through injury circumstances. It's an absolute huge blow for Ryan Sutton, who's been brilliant for the last 2 months for the Raiders. The game itself was actually quite entertaining, but totally overshadowed for me by this news.
Yeah, it's sad times. It finished West Tigers 24, the Eels 28. The New Zealand Warriors can go back with their heads held high, having scored 40 to the Sea Eagles 28, and the St George Illawarra Dragons 30, the Melbourne Storm Reserves 22.
In the standings, Panthers end the year on top on 37 points. The Storm are second with 32. Eels on 30, scraped into third when it looked at one point like they might have been finishing fifth. But no one declines to like the West Tigers. And Roosters rounded out the top 4 on 28 points. Raiders in 5th also finish on 28 points. Rabbitohs ended up in 6th with Knights 7th and Sharks in the final top 8 spot. Outside the playoffs, the Titans, good end to the year, so then finished 9th on 18 points. Warriors ended 10th. West Tigers, Dragons and Seagulls came next. Cowboys ended up 14th on 10 points. Bulldogs got off bottom spot in the final stages, with the Broncos picking up not just the wooden spoon, but dozens of the fucking things. It was also the Griffin Cup this weekend, the only international rugby league we're going to be seeing around these parts. And this is, as people might know, between the Netherlands and Germany, with the Netherlands, the host, coming out on top 20 points to 18.
Yeah, we got some fan views in on this one, starting with Dr. Hideous. Lots of errors in the first half, just one try for Germany made it 0-6